This video lecture addresses the determinants of health and how religion, culture, and socioeconomic status affect health. It is part of Introduction to Public Health online delivery. Imagine you are working in a country with strict Islamic practices and find that religion, like culture, can have major impacts on health. Religious practices differ widely, from beliefs about food and alcohol to sexual practices, such as male circumcision and female sexual behavior, to acceptance or rejection of interventions aimed at women's health. So you ask, how does religion affect health? Your classmate, who is the first in her family to attend college, received word that her father lost his job at the local factory and she needs to take a leave from school because her family can no longer afford tuition. You wonder, how might a parent's job loss affect the health care of a child and her family? You are in the checkout line at the grocery store and a pregnant mother is ahead of you. You glance at the sugary cereals, snacks, and sodas she is purchasing and happen to notice that she is using an EBT card from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. You wonder what could be done to encourage the consumption of healthy foods. The development of social and behavioral sciences in the 1800s and 1900s is closely connected with the development of public health. These subject areas share a fundamental belief that understanding the organization and motivation behind social forces, along with a better understanding of the behavior of individuals, can be used to improve the lives of individuals as well as society as a whole. The 19th century development of social and behavioral sciences, as well as public health, grew out of the Industrial Revolution in Europe and later in the United States. It was grounded in efforts to address the social and economic inequities that developed during this period and provided an intellectual and institutional structure for what was and is now called social justice. Social justice implies a society provides fair treatment and a fair share of the rewards of society to individuals and groups of individuals. Early public health reformers advocated for social justice and saw public health as an integral aspect of it. The intellectual link between social and behavioral sciences and public health is so basic and so deep that it is often taken for granted. Due to our constant interactions with our surroundings, efforts aimed at improving population health require an understanding of the complex relationships between social systems and health. Medical care is only a piece of the puzzle, considering its focus is to treat disease without addressing the conditions and the social systems and physical environment that contributed to the illness in the first place. Let's look at some specific examples of how the social and behavioral sciences have contributed to public health. If you think about psychology, there are many theories with regards to risk-taking tendencies and motivations. With public health, we're often trying to influence people in their behavior choices, so understanding what motivates individuals is important. Another example of how psychology supports public health are the many surveys that have been developed by psychology researchers. For example, this perceived stress scale, which was developed by Sheldon Cohen, is often used when perceived stress is a variable of interest. These scales have been developed, have been tested, and have been validated and are appropriate for use in public health. Things like economics and understanding the micro and macroeconomic impacts on public health and the healthcare systems are important. Demography is important because we need to look at groups of people and how things are changing within the demographic. As we discussed in the previous module, communications is extremely important. Health literacy, being able to communicate health information to populations so that they can understand and use the information. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention is a good example of a well-done website and good health communications. This is the home page, and you can see that there are lots of additional resources, but it's not too cluttered and overwhelming. Across the top there are some other links, and if I select diseases and conditions, let's select flu, it will take me to a page again that's not too cluttered, but helps me navigate to find what I want. In this case, I'm wanting to go to the Communication Resource Center because I want to find a handout or a flyer. So here we have Communication Resources, and we can download images and infographics, and these are all free. They've already been paid for by our tax dollars. And so if I wanted to download this poster, I could then print it and put it around my facility. This is an example of health communications, and it's taking from marketing and communications and applying it to public health. So as you look across this list, you can see how each and every area within social and behavioral sciences helps us to determine what populations need to stay healthy. A similar list of contributions of the humanities could be developed, including the contributions of literature, the arts, history, philosophy, and ethics. These contributions of the social sciences are in addition to contributions of the sciences such as math, biology, chemistry, and statistics, which underpin much of epidemiology and environmental health. Languages and culture, history, and the arts provide key contributions to health communications and health policy. Thus, a broad arts and sciences education is often considered a key part of preparation for public health. To assist in pulling apart the complex social characteristics that impact health, it is useful to consider different levels of influence within the social system. Socio-ecological models are often employed to gain an understanding of the various social influences on health, as well as to assist in identifying points at which to intervene. In general, the levels of influence include the individual lifestyle factors. So these would be characteristics of an individual, including their knowledge, attitudes, beliefs, and personal traits, as well as their age, sex, and additional hereditary factors. We then have social and community networks. These are points at which interactions with other individuals occur. This sphere of influence can further be divided into the following levels. First, we have an interpersonal level. This includes our family, friends, and peers who shape our social identity, support, and other roles. We also have institutional and organizational structures. This would include rules and regulations of institutions such as schools and places of employment that may limit or promote healthy behaviors. We also have the community. This comprises informal and formal social networks and norms formed among individuals, groups, and organizations, including cultural and religious practices. There are also general concerns, general socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions. These are components of the surroundings external to the individuals that comprise living and working conditions such as education, housing, work environment, and healthcare services. These conditions are shaped by public policy and law at the local, state, and federal levels.